Autism is a unique and fascinating aspect of human neurodiversity. In our discussion today, we dive into the world of autism and explore the connection between comfort foods and sensory experiences. Many individuals on the autism spectrum experience the world differently, especially when it comes to sensory inputs like sound, light, and touch. One common experience relates to food preferences, where textures and flavors may evoke strong positive or negative responses. This video offers an insightful look at how certain textures can either soothe or overwhelm, and why hunger is not always the main signal that encourages someone to eat. Throughout our conversation, we will focus on the importance of comfort foods, which are not just about taste but also play a deep emotional and psychological role in everyday life. Comfort foods can remind us of safety and predictability, offering calm in a chaotic world. For many autistic individuals, familiarity in food texture and taste can be a beacon in moments of uncertainty. We will explore how these familiar foods provide reassurance and stabilize routines, especially when sensory experiences feel overwhelming. Here, we aim to create a friendly yet precise dialogue that resonates with both caregivers and those curious about autism. Our discussion does not aim to be overly technical. Instead, it brings clarity to the idea that every sensory experience, such as the feel of food texture, holds significant meaning for autistic individuals. Join us as we break down myths, share research-backed insights, and discuss real-life scenarios that illustrate the unique relationship between autism and the world of comfort foods. Together, we embark on a journey that highlights everyday stories and challenges. Sometimes, mealtime is not simply about satisfying hunger, but about managing sensory overload and navigating complex emotions. It is crucial to understand that when an autistic individual encounters an unfamiliar texture, the anticipated signal of hunger is often overshadowed by discomfort or anxiety. Such experiences show that eating is not purely driven by physical need but is deeply intertwined with sensory processing and emotional well-being. By exploring these personal narratives, we aim to illuminate why comfort foods matter so much in this context. Embracing familiar textures and flavors can provide a moment of calm or stability. Our discussion today demystifies these experiences and encourages a thoughtful perspective on how subtle adjustments in food presentation may offer significant relief. This journey enlightens us all towards greater understanding, truly deeply. Autism spectrum disorder is a developmental condition characterized by differences in communication, social interaction, and behavior. Many people recognize autism simply by its label, but it is much more than that. It encompasses a wide range of experiences and behaviors, and each individual's journey is uniquely their own. At its core, autism is about how the brain processes the world, leading to a perspective that can differ significantly from neurotypical views. This diversity in thought and perception is a strength, yet it also comes with unique challenges, particularly in sensory processing. Sensory processing differences are a fundamental aspect of autism. Many autistic individuals experience either heightened or diminished sensitivity to sensory stimuli. This means that sounds which might seem normal to some may feel overwhelmingly loud or even painful to others. Similarly, textures, lights, and smells can trigger a range of responses from enjoyment to deep discomfort. Sensory overload is a common experience during busy or highly stimulating situations, where too many sensory inputs occur simultaneously. This overload can lead to anxiety, stress, or the need to withdraw into a more controlled environment. It is not uncommon for an autistic person to prefer calm and routine because unpredictable sensory experiences can be exhausting. When we consider food, the interplay between sensory processing and comfort becomes even more significant. The brain's response to sensory information can determine whether a food is seen as nurturing or aversive. For example, a food that is crunchy and noisy might be delightful to one person but distressing to someone on the spectrum. Understanding these differences helps explain why texture and consistency are so important when discussing food preferences. Research shows that these sensory sensitivities are not mere quirks, they are deeply rooted in neurological differences that impact daily life. By recognizing and respecting these sensory differences, we open the door to more inclusive dining experiences. Whether it is through modifying recipes, adjusting textures, or simply being mindful of an individual's sensory needs, small changes can have a profound impact on mealtime comfort. This understanding encourages a compassionate approach to food, and it paves the way for improved nutrition and quality of life. By gathering insights from personal experiences and academic research, we build a picture of the sensory landscape experienced by autistic individuals. This deeper understanding is key to fostering environments where everyone can enjoy mealtimes. Embracing these differences is a step toward a kinder, inclusive society. Comfort foods are more than just items we eat. They represent memories, emotions, and a sense of belonging. For many people, these foods bring a feeling of warmth, nostalgia, and security, often tied to personal history and cultural background. For autistic individuals, comfort foods often carry additional importance, serving as anchors in their daily routines. The familiarity of a well-known flavor or texture can provide reassurance during uncertain times, helping to mitigate stress and sensory challenges. In many cases, comfort foods are chosen for their predictable qualities. A consistent texture, uncomplicated taste, and known presentation help create a predictable dining experience. This predictability is key for many on the autism spectrum who might otherwise be overwhelmed by new or unexpected sensations. As a result, the role of comfort foods extends beyond mere satiation. They act as a bridge between sensory experiences and emotional stability. Often, these foods are linked to cherished memories from childhood or moments of calm in an otherwise stimulating environment. It is also important to note that comfort foods may vary significantly between neurotypical and autistic individuals. What feels comforting to one person may not translate the same way for someone else, particularly someone whose sensory processing is uniquely attuned. For example, a smooth, creamy dessert might offer comfort to one person, while another might prefer something with a firmer texture and less overpowering flavor. This variation underscores the need for personalized approaches when considering the role that food plays in emotional well-being. Recognizing the profound impact that comfort foods can have, many families and caregivers are exploring ways to adapt traditional recipes to better suit individual sensory needs. From modifying the consistency of a favorite dish to experimenting with the degree of spiciness or sweetness, these adjustments can make a big difference. In exploring comfort foods, we uncover layers of personal history, emotion, and sensory preference, all of which highlight the significance of food as a source of genuine comfort and emotional nourishment. Ultimately, comfort foods weave together sensory preference and emotion, offering a reliable support system that many find essential in daily life for all. Food textures often play a pivotal role in determining whether an autistic individual enjoys a meal or faces significant challenges during eating. Textures are not limited to how food feels in our mouths. They also include consistency, temperature, and even the visual appearance of the dish. For many autistic individuals, the tactile experience of food can evoke strong emotional reactions. Some textures provide a soothing, predictable experience, while others may trigger discomfort, anxiety, or even physical pain. This makes the careful consideration of food textures an important focus for anyone looking to support neurodiverse eating needs. The sensory world is layered and complex. Autistic people can be extremely sensitive to fine details that others might not notice. A light crunch might be tolerated on one food but be a source of distress on another, even if both are expected to be similar. For instance, a type of bread with a slightly coarse crumb might be preferred over one that is overly soft or mushy. Such distinctions are not trivial. They reflect deep-seated neurological perceptions and sensitivities that influence everyday eating habits. The impact of these textures extends beyond the immediate physical sensation and can affect mood and overall health. Research and anecdotal evidence both point to the significant influence of food textures on the willingness to eat. In several studies, autistic individuals have expressed clear preferences for certain textures over others, sometimes even avoiding foods that do not meet their sensory criteria. Caregivers and nutrition specialists have observed that introducing new foods with different textures requires gradual adaptation, often involving a step-by-step process to increase tolerance. Additionally, variations in texture can affect a meal's social dynamics, as aversion to certain textures may lead to selective eating patterns that impact nutrition and overall enjoyment of communal meals. In practical terms, understanding texture preferences can lead to beneficial changes in both home-cooked meals and institutional feeding programs. Adjustments such as pureeing vegetables for a smoother consistency, or offering crunchy options for snacks, can make a significant difference over time. For individuals dealing with sensory challenges, even small modifications in food texture can open new pathways to nourishment and pleasure. Ultimately, the impact of food textures on autistic individuals underlines the necessity of personalization in dietary practices, ensuring that eating remains a comfortable and enjoyable experience rather than a source of anxiety or distress. By paying close attention to the impact of textures, families, therapists, and meal planners can create eating environments that honor each individual's sensory profile. This detailed focus supports not only physical health but also nurtures emotional security, allowing every mealtime to become a harmonious experience. Small adjustments in understanding food texture consistently pave the way for daily life improvements. For many autistic individuals, the sensation of hunger does not automatically lead to the act of eating, and this phenomenon is rooted in the interplay between sensory processing and emotional well-being. While hunger is a fundamental biological signal, it is frequently overshadowed by sensory experiences that dictate food acceptance. When somebody on the autism spectrum is confronted with a food texture that causes discomfort or anxiety, the immediate urge to eat can be suppressed even in the face of physical hunger. Several studies have shown that the neural pathways responsible for processing hunger signals may be interrupted by heightened sensitivity to sensory stimuli. It is not uncommon for an autistic person to feel intense hunger yet refuse to eat, simply because the sensory qualities of the available food are overwhelming. This indicates that the drive to eat is not solely a response to a metabolic need but a complex interaction of sensory input, emotional state, and behavioral patterns. As a result, the traditional idea of hunger as a motivator can be inadequate when trying to encourage food intake in autistic individuals. The disconnect between hunger cues and eating behaviors highlights the need for alternative strategies that consider more than just physical appetite. For those who experience sensory overload, mealtime can be a source of stress rather than comfort. Even if their stomachs signal hunger, the brain's prioritization of sensory input, such as aversions to particular textures, smells, or appearances, can override this biological call. In clinical settings and everyday life, this means that simply serving food is often not enough to ensure proper nutrition. The underlying sensory challenges must be addressed with empathy and careful planning. Without appropriate adjustments, even the most enticing dish may be met with resistance or complete refusal. This situation calls for a delicate balance between recognizing physiological hunger and accommodating sensory comfort. Caregivers and professionals are encouraged to focus on strategies that honor an individual's sensory profile. Gradual exposure to varied textures, consistent meal routines, and a supportive environment can gradually bridge the gap between hunger and eating. Practical interventions may include creating a calm, distraction-free space for meals with ambient lighting and minimal noise, allowing the sensory system to settle before food is introduced. Personalized meal planning that incorporates preferred textures and flavors can transform mealtime into a more inviting experience. Moreover, the complexity of hunger signals in autism reminds us that effective nourishment extends well beyond the physical act of consuming food. When an autistic person refrains from eating despite feeling hungry, it is a signal to caregivers that further support is needed. Such support may involve slowly adjusting food textures, refining the presentation of meals, and even incorporating sensory integration techniques. By respecting the unique interplay of sensory perceptions and hunger, we create a more empathetic approach to mealtime. Over time, these thoughtful adaptations not only improve nutritional outcomes but also foster trust and reduce mealtime anxiety. Every small, considerate step paves the way for healthier and happier living for all. Effective strategies for supporting eating habits in autistic individuals begin with creating a sensory-friendly eating environment. Choosing a quiet space with minimal distractions can help reduce feelings of overwhelm at mealtime. Consistency is crucial. When meals follow a predictable routine and feature familiar textures and flavors, the eating experience can become more comforting and manageable. It is important that caregivers work closely with individuals to tailor strategies that honor personal sensory preferences. One approach is gradual food introduction. Starting with well-loved comfort foods, small changes can be slowly introduced over time. For instance, if a person is comfortable with a particular texture, slight modifications that retain the basic sensory characteristics can act as a gateway to trying new ingredients. This gradual process not only increases tolerance but also builds trust between the individual and those preparing the meals. Offering choices whenever possible fosters a sense of control and empowerment, which can reduce anxiety around new foods. Another key strategy involves collaboration with professionals such as nutritionists, occupational therapists, and behavioral specialists. These experts provide tailored advice and creative solutions, from adjusting portion sizes to modifying the presentation of foods. Sharing success stories, whether through family experiences or clinical research, also instills hope and motivation for progress. Incorporating sensory-based tools, like using textured dishware or visual timers, can further assist in creating a routine that feels safe and supportive. Overall, the goal is to blend practical modifications with empathy and patience. By understanding the unique sensory landscape of each individual, caregivers can develop personalized plans that not only address nutritional needs but also contribute to overall well-being. These thoughtful strategies reinforce that mealtimes can be transformed into positive experiences, filled with both nourishment and emotional comfort. Small, consistent adjustments and compassionate guidance can spark lasting improvements in mealtime experiences every day. In summary, our exploration of autism and comfort foods has revealed the intricate ways in which sensory experiences shape eating habits. We have learned that for many autistic individuals, the act of eating is influenced by far more than physical hunger. It is deeply entwined with sensory sensitivities and emotional responses. The textures of food, whether soothing or challenging, play a central role in determining how a meal feels both physically and emotionally. As we have seen, comfort foods provide more than mere calories. They offer a sense of continuity, safety, and nostalgia that can be crucial during times of stress. This discussion has highlighted that recognizing and respecting the unique sensory worlds of autistic individuals is key to crafting positive mealtime experiences. Simple modifications in food presentation, coupled with thoughtful patience and gradual changes, can open up new avenues for nutritious and enjoyable eating. By bridging the gap between hunger signals and actual food intake, caregivers can help reduce anxiety and foster environments where individuals are understood and supported. Whether through collaboration with professionals or by listening closely to personal experiences, every small step taken towards adapting food textures and routines is a move toward greater well-being. Ultimately, embracing these differences is not only about meeting nutritional needs but also about cultivating compassion and understanding in everyday life. Let this conversation remind us that food is more than sustenance. It is an expression of care and a source of comfort. May we create environments where everyone feels understood during mealtimes.